Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's good to see all of you. It's good to have you if you're joining and watching online as well. Hey, just welcome to Frontline. My name's David. I'm the lead pastor here, and it is really a joy and an honor and a privilege today to introduce Courtney. Many of you may know Courtney or not. You can cheer for her. I don't need to do anything. Okay, Courtney, here we go. Just kidding. Courtney's been on our staff for the last few years and has actually played a lot of different roles here in our staff. She started off as a resident, and you've heard us describe different people on stage before as residents because we really care about and develop people here at our church that have a calling into vocational ministry. Some of those maybe are you. You're sitting here right now and you're wrestling with a call to ministry. We like to be a developing type of church, and every once in a while, somebody that we get the privilege of walking with for a season, we get to develop, and with the thinking of we're going to launch them at some point out into a different church or context, whatever, that's always the goal. But every once in a while, we get the opportunity to keep one because a role opens up. So Courtney, I could stand up here for the next 30 minutes and tell you all the things I love about Courtney. The way that she leads well, she does a lot of different things with discipleship and connections. A lot of you are connected here and in a small group right now. You're growing. You feel like you have friends here, in part because of Courtney. So Courtney's gonna preach today. I'm really excited for what she has for you today. And something that's healthy about churches, or something that churches can demonstrate as healthy, is different people that come up here and speak and represent what God has deposited inside of them for all of us. So would you welcome Courtney one more time to the stage and just open your hearts for what she has today.
Thank you, David. Thank you, guys. I am really, really excited to be up here with you all this morning and excited for what God has for us today. It has been so cool, even just looking around the room, seeing how many of you have gotten to know, hearing your stories, getting to share my story with you, serving alongside you guys. So I just love you guys a ton. If you spend any amount of time with me, you will likely hear a story about my big red dog named Moose. So I have a picture of him on the screen for us. Yes, he's very cute. He's very adorable. But please don't let that cute face fool you, because he's 70 pounds of pure chaos and slobber, right? I could write a whole book full of things that he has gotten us into, sticky situations and awkward situations and funny stories. So he's still puppy energy. He's a 1.5-year-old, and he is just chaotic. So anytime that he is at rest or sleeping, I will do anything in my power to keep it that way. So if he's laying on my lap sleeping and the fire alarm is going off, I'm staying in and burning down with the building because he is sleeping. He is calm, okay? So this happened a couple months ago where all day I was home, I didn't have plans, and he's just ridiculous. He's all over the place, getting the zoomies. And finally the evening comes and he's settled down. So he's laying on the couch next to me. And I'm gonna put this in here, it's gonna be important for later. It's one of those like old style bed pull-out couches. So it's a heavy duty couch. Just hold on to that for a moment here. So he's sleeping on one cushion, I'm on another, just scrolling through my phone, winding down for the day, and my phone is rapidly dying. It's got a terrible battery. And so pretty quickly, I realized I'm gonna have to get up and get my phone charger, and then there goes Moose, and that's the end of quiet time for Courtney. But then I remember there's a charger behind the couch. So I'm like, perfect. I can get a charger. It's going to be great. He'll stay sleeping. And so I reach my arm back behind the couch, between the couch and the wall. And it's kind of a tight fit. But I'm like, you know what? I've got this. It's going to be fine. I got a skinny little arm. I'm not super muscular. So I reach down. I'm reaching. I finally grab it. And I go to pull my arm out, and it does not come out. I'm like, okay, like maybe I just need to twist a little bit. Maybe I need to, move it around. It's not budging. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that I've just gotten my arm stuck behind a couch. And I live alone, so it's not like I can call out to somebody to come help me out. And so the minutes are going by. I'm pulling. I've got like one leg up on the wall trying to push the couch out. It's a pull-out bed couch, so it is not budging. So by like 10 minutes in, I'm like, there's no way that I'm gonna call somebody and tell them that I've gotten my arm stuck behind a couch and to come and get me out. Like, that is just ridiculous. So I'm like, what I need to do, I just need to muster up the strength, and I need to pull as hard as I can, and surely it'll come out. So I go, okay, 1, 2, 3, and I yank it, and it does not budge. And so I'm in pain at this point. I finally call some friends that live in the same apartment complex. I'm like, hey, you guys need to come get my spare key from the church, come to my apartment. I'm actually stuck. And I'm not going to tell you who they are because they have photo evidence, and they would love to show you the picture of this happening. So they come, like 10 minutes later, and they get me unstuck, and my whole arm is just bruised and red. And I'm like, I should have called so much sooner. I got myself into trouble because I was like, I am a strong, independent woman. I don't need anybody's help. I can do this. But it actually ended up giving me more pain and bruises for 2 weeks. I think that probably a lot of you have silly stories like that. Hopefully I'm not the only one that embarrasses myself because I overestimate how much I can do on my own. I mean, especially in America, we have like this motto of like overcome obstacles and rally at the last hour and just push what I can do in my own power. And we absolutely hate admitting that we can't do something on our own. Anyone else feel like that? It's just you hate that feeling. It's because we all have that sense. We want to feel that satisfaction of look what I can accomplish, look what I can overcome, look what I can achieve. And if you didn't know, that is the exact definition of pride in the Oxford Dictionary, right? It is that feeling, that desire to have that satisfaction of what we can do in our own power, the things that we can do, our own achievements. And we do this in all different areas of our life. We do it at work when we don't want to admit that we were wrong. We do it in relationships. We always want to win the argument. I mean, we even do it with like fixing projects. Do you know how many YouTube videos there are of DIY things? You can just watch a video and then you're a master at it. But there's even more videos of DIY fails because you can't just watch a video and automatically become a plumber or an electrician or a mechanic. So if that's you, if you've ever done something stupid like that, you're in good company with the story that we're looking at today. We're going to be in Luke chapter 10. If you have your Bibles, I encourage you to open up to that chapter because we're going to be landing there throughout this whole time. But to give you some context, Jesus is going to all these different towns and people groups because word is spreading of who he is. He's been doing more and more miracles. He's healing people. And people are starting to say, is this Messiah? I want to meet this guy. I want to see if he's the real deal. And so Jesus is going out and visiting all these different groups of people. And we're jumping into verse 38, where he goes to the home of 2 sisters. And this is one of the places where he stops and he does some teachings. So let's dive right in. Luke chapter 10, verse 38. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. And we'll pause there. This is a beautiful scene, right? We got 2 sisters here. One of them is hospitable. She's opened her home to him, as well as all of the disciples that came with him. She's available. She's being this great host. And then sweet Mary is just sitting at his feet, listening to him, enjoying his teachings. And so I think all of us would say if Jesus came to our house, we would hope that we would act like Martha and Mary. These are 2 great sisters, great models of hospitality, being attentive, being available to Jesus. Unfortunately, that doesn't last very long. The very next verse. But Martha was distracted with much serving. She came to Jesus and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things. So this isn't exactly what we were expecting. It says that Martha was distracted. So they had heard about Jesus. They had heard all the miracles that he'd been doing, that he'd been healing people, that he'd been casting out demons, that he'd been preaching. And Martha, she's like, I've got to do a good job. I've got all these people that are in my home, so I got to make sure that they have water to wash their feet as was per their custom. She's giving them a drink and a snack because they've been traveling. As they're coming in, she's like, oh no, do I have enough chairs? So she's grabbing chairs from all the other rooms. And she's like, okay, I think they're probably going to end up staying for a while, so I need to prepare a meal for 20 people. I need to do all of these things. And she's so consumed by all of this. And then she looks over, and Mary is just sitting there, unbothered, unaware of all the things that need to happen so that they can be good hosts for Jesus. And so she's getting more and more worked up, and I honestly don't blame Martha for her response, for her a little bit of an attitude with Jesus, because she says, like, Jesus, don't you care? Like, can't you see what's happening? I am working my butt off out here. I am striving and doing all these things for you, and Mary's just sitting there. Don't you care? And then she takes it a step further and actually just makes a demand of Jesus of what she wanted. She says, Jesus, tell her to help me. Tell her to get up off her butt, send her into the kitchen to help me. And we have to ask, why is she getting so worked up? Martha's obviously someone that has a great servant heart. She knows how to host people. She likely has the gift of hospitality. She's doing all these really good things. Martha knows how to throw a dinner party to perfection. So why is she so overwhelmed? And we find it back in verse 40. The translation we read said that she was distracted with much serving. But the original language, a better way to translate that is Martha was distracted with all her preparations. This was the Martha show. This was all about how good of a plan that she had, how amazing of a meal that she was going to prepare, all of these things that she was going to do so that people could see that she served Jesus so well and so flawlessly. And she was in that same, strong, independent woman mindset that I was with my arm stuck behind the couch, right? This was her show. It was all about her. And at some point, she had to have realized that she had planned way too much, that there was too many things that she wanted to accomplish that it wasn't going to happen. And so she was going to have to admit to herself and maybe to other people, like, hey, I'm not going to have the meal done on time. Does anyone like admitting that they are wrong, that they failed? No, I didn't think so. No one raised their hand. We hate that feeling that we've got it wrong. And so instead of, pausing and changing focuses, switching her plan up, she does what a lot of us do. And we talked about it last week. She blames Mary. If Mary just would have been out here the whole time, we could have got my list done. We could have made all the preparations. We could have on and on and on and on. And that's really what pride does. It had moved Martha away from Jesus, away from what Jesus was doing, teaching and interacting with people and being in community. And she was just engulfed in the things that she needed to accomplish. And it brought up anger and resentment towards her sister and towards Jesus because her plan was not coming to fruition. Any of you have toddlers right now that are in the I do it myself stage? If you don't know, yes, I see a hand over there. If you don't know what that is, or if you haven't seen someone else's kids do this, it's where they're learning how to be independent with certain tasks. And so if you try to help them, they're like, no, I've got it. I got it, Mom. I got it, Dad. I've got it, Aunt Courtney. I don't need your help. It's like, okay, go ahead. Good job, buddy. You're doing great. But they're not doing great, and they can't figure it out. And so then they get more and more frustrated, and then they're mad at you because you didn't help them, and they couldn't figure it out on their own. So it's like, it's a lose-lose situation, no matter if you help them or you don't. So if that's you in this room, we're praying for you, because that's brutal. But in all honesty, I wonder if that's how God sees us. When we're in that independent mindset of, you know what, Jesus, I've got this. I don't need your help. Let me show you, I'm such a big girl. I'm such a big boy. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. I'm just going to do this in my own power and my own strength. And I find myself doing this exact same thing a lot more than I realized until I started digging into this passage more. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. And I'm the only girl. And so my entire childhood was spent trying to prove that I could play with the big kids, that I had what it took to do their games and to play their video games and to be outside wrestling with them. And obviously we're all grown up now, but I was taken back to that exact same feeling of trying to prove that I could keep up with everything a couple weeks ago, because my mom texted all of us kids and let us know that my dad was in the hospital. And it was so immediate how quickly I stepped into, okay, this is unexpected. There's a lot going on. I'm a little bit anxious, so we're just going to hit the ground running. I didn't take a moment to pause and, to switch things around in my calendar. I didn't take a moment to pause and say, okay, Jesus, help me through this. This is a lot. Help my dad. I just went and pulled up my bootstraps, did life as normal, went over to mom and dad's, planned when to visit, and then, why not just add on a couple more extra things into my calendar just to show everyone that Courtney can keep it together when things get really hard. And I was pushing, and it honestly wasn't until my small group reached out to me. And they said, hey, Courtney, we're praying for you this week. How are you doing? And I took a step back, and it was the first time where I was like, how am I doing? Am I okay? And I realized how absolutely overwhelmed and anxious that I had become. I wasn't thinking about where Jesus was in all of that. I was so focused on what can I do? How can I get through this day? How can I help people? How can I keep myself busy? And it was completely in my own pride that I completely missed where Jesus was, that he was waiting for me just to pause long enough to be able to see him, that he was so close, that he wanted to be present with me through all of those things. But I couldn't see it because I was trying to do it in my own power. Where do you see it showing up in your life? Where do you see that pride kind of moving you away from being with Jesus? A good way to identify that is looking at where are you striving in your own power? Where are you overwhelmed? Where does it feel like your plan and your goals are just falling apart the more that you are trying to keep it under control? Maybe it's at work or in your career. You're not quite where you want to be right now. It could be in your family. Maybe there's some tension with your kids, or you've got little ones and you're just like, I don't feel like I'm doing enough to prepare them for the world. Maybe it's in school. You're trying to figure out the trajectory of your life, what you're going to study, or keeping up with your grades and the assignments, and there's other stuff going around in the background. Or it could be your health or someone in your family's health. Just something unexpected that you're like, God, I don't know how to get through this, but I'm just going to keep moving. I'm just going to keep pushing through. Or maybe it's in a broken relationship. Maybe there's troubles in your marriage. You just feel like you can't figure out what the key is to move forward, to make things go better. I think that we convince ourselves that our own plan, our own strength, our own striving, if we just keep moving forward, is going to get us where we want to go. But it's just moving us further and further away from the voice of Jesus and the presence of Jesus. And so I want to take a look at how Jesus responds to us in those moments of, I got this, Jesus. I do it myself. I don't need you. So let's jump back in. Verse 41, the Lord answered Martha, 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 you're anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. So remember, this whole time, Mary is at Jesus' feet. She has been there. She's been listening the whole time as all of this is unfolding. And it's actually not the only time that we see Mary at the feet of Jesus. So we see it also in John chapter 12. Where they host another party in Jesus' honor. They're making a dinner for him. In verse 3, it says, Mary then took a pound of very expensive perfume of pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus, wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. And the disciples in this story, they're like, why would she do that? That's so expensive. We could have used that to help the poor and all these things. And Jesus is like, no. Mary has done something so honoring to me, so beautiful, and he celebrates her again in this same passage. Everyone that we see in Scripture, when they're at the feet of Jesus, it's because they acknowledge and recognize who he is, that he wasn't just a man, that Jesus wasn't just this prophet that could do cool magic tricks. No, all these people, whether they were worshiping him or whether they were begging for mercy, whether they were asking for healing or whether they were absolutely terrified of him, all of them believed that this was the Son of God. They recognized that, and that brought them to a place of humility. And that's what Mary had. She had that deeply ingrained faith within her that brought her to Jesus' feet. There's things that she had heard from other people, that he had been doing miracles, that he had been preaching the gospel with such authority. And she realized, this isn't just maybe the Messiah. She knew that this was the Messiah and that she wanted Jesus to be her Lord. And so we see that faith in Jesus is what actually moved her to a place of humility, that brought her to her knees. And so we have these two sisters that we can compare, where Martha, in her pride, she was moving further and further and further away from Jesus. And that's what our pride does. It moves us away from Jesus. But Mary, her humility, her recognition of who Jesus was in comparison to herself, is what brought her back into his presence, eager to be with him and to listen for his voice. And the best way that we can humble ourselves is to do exactly what Mary does in this passage, is to learn and believe in who Jesus is. Because in comparison to our own strength, the things that we're striving for, the things that we're trying to do, that we're trying to carry all this stuff and keep it together, and it's getting harder and harder and harder, and we're more and more overwhelmed, we look at Jesus and say, this is a God that's carrying the whole universe right now, that he knows every single thing that every person in this room is walking through, and he's carrying it in his hands. And it's so funny that in this passage, Martha, she's consumed by preparations for 12, maybe, up to 20 people to provide them a meal. When just a couple days ago, we see the story of Jesus feeding 5,000 people with a couple loaves and fishes. Like, it's such a vast difference, the power of Jesus and what he can do, that he's saying, Martha, don't worry, you're gonna be provided for. It's gonna be okay. The thing that I want for you is to be in my presence, to pause, just to spend time with me, to listen for my voice. And so as he's talking to Martha, he's saying, look, Martha, Mary has chosen the good portion. She's chosen to be in my presence. She's chosen to take her mind away from all the things that were happening in their home, because both of them are living in the same reality. There's all these people in their home. But the way that Mary has chosen to just be present and to be still and to slow down her pace, for her to come and to listen to his voice. And as I was digging into this, I was reminded of Matthew 11, where Jesus says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And that's such a beautiful invitation. That's what he invited Martha into. Martha, Martha, you're so worried, you're so anxious. Just come to me. Let me give you rest. And he says that to all of us. Come to me, all you who are worried and upset. Come to me, all you who are overworked and trying to provide for your family. Come to me, all you who are perfectionists and critical of yourselves. Come to me, all you who are insecure in your appearance. Come to me, all you who are afraid for your future. Come to me, all you who are haunted by your past. Jesus reminds us in this story that the nothing that we are striving for, nothing that we are moving towards in our own strength is going to get us to where we want to be, and it's that place of rest. He's asking us, do you believe in who I am? Do you believe that I'm the Messiah that can come into anything that you're facing and I can carry you through it, that I can speak into it, that I can guide you? Come, sit at my feet and listen for my voice. And that's what Jesus invites us into today as well. What that looks like really practically, because obviously Jesus isn't physically here on this earth anymore, but to be at the feet of Jesus, to listen for his voice in all of our circumstances, in all of our problems that we're facing, and any goal that we're trying to accomplish. It's realizing that we have the God of the universe calling out our name and saying, hey, come over here. And something that a mentor of mine, his name is Greg, taught me this past year that I've really tried to learn is when I'm in that state of being overwhelmed and bogged down by all the things that are happening. It's the bookmark that's on all of your seats if you want to grab that. And it's asking Jesus the question, when you have something that's going on and you take a moment to pause and say, I need to bring this to Jesus. I'm overwhelmed. I'm working in my own strength. And you just ask Jesus, what do you want me to see, hear, know, and experience? And then you be quiet and you listen for his voice. Maybe God speaks to you through an image, like he'll bring a picture to your mind. Maybe it is a word or a sentence. It could be a memory verse, a scripture that you have in your mind. It could even be like a memory or an idea or a person to talk to process out loud with. God can speak to us however he wants. There's no right way. The point is that he wants to speak to you. We just have to humble ourselves enough to pause all the stuff that we're involved with, all the things that we're overwhelmed, and to make that conscious decision to go to Jesus. Say, Jesus, I just want to sit at your feet a moment. I just want to listen for what you have for me, just like Mary did. And so today I wanted to read a couple passages of scripture that talk about who Jesus is, because this is the best place to go to learn who he is, to realize that this is the God of the universe, that this is the Jesus that came to earth for us. And so I've got 3 passages here that we're going to read. The first one is in Hebrews 1, if you want to open up to that. Hebrews 1, 2 through 3. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed the heir of all things. Through him also he created the world. He is the radiance of the glory of God in the exact imprint of God's nature, and he upholds the universe by the word of his power. After making purification for our sins, he sat down at the right hand of the majesty on high. That's who Jesus is. The next one is Colossians 1, verses 12 through 20. It says, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. He has delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son. That's Jesus again, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he's the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in everything he might be preeminent. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him to reconcile all things, whether on earth or in heaven, making peace by the blood of the cross. That's who Jesus is. And one more, Acts 4, 11 and 12. It says, this Jesus is the stone that was rejected by you, the builders, which has now become the cornerstone. And there's salvation in nobody else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. If that Jesus walked into this room right now, we wouldn't be able to help but jump out of our seat in the middle of the message and run to him. We would be humbled so quickly. It wouldn't matter the image that we're trying to maintain on Sunday morning, that we have everything put together, that we're not facing any problems outside of here. It wouldn't matter the things that we're striving for, that we're doing in our own power, the things that we're afraid about or overwhelmed in. We would run to be in his presence and just to say, Jesus, what do you want me to experience? What do you want me to know right now? What do you want me to see and hear around me and the things that I'm facing? He wants to speak to us today. And I think that if we just pause long enough to admit, Jesus, I'm overwhelmed and I need your presence. I want to come to your feet. Help me to pause long enough to listen for your voice. I think that he would have something to say to each of you. And so we want to give you time to do that today. There's note cards around the room. If you're someone that likes to write things out or you need to get it out on paper, You can grab those at any point during worship that we're going to jump into. Or if you just want to sit and reflect, just close your eyes, ask Jesus that question that's on your bookmark. But we're going to bring the things very practically that are happening in our lives right now to the feet of Jesus. And so a question up on the screen that's going to be helpful is, where in your life do you feel like pride is moving you away from Jesus? Where do you feel like you're striving in your own power? Where do you feel overwhelmed? Where do you feel that plan that is just crumbling? And then we're just going to ask, Jesus, speak to us. What do you want me to see? What do you want me to hear? What do you want me to know? What do you want me to experience? And I think he has something that he wants to say to each of us. And so let me pray for us. And the band is just going to give us a few minutes of quiet. They're going to play just lightly behind us. Then we're going to jump in to worshiping the Jesus that is calling our name. But I wonder what it would look like for a whole room of people to get on their knees. And you guys might hate me for this, but I wonder what it would look like for us just to get on our knees and say, Jesus, I want to hear your voice. I want to be in your presence. And so right now, if you want to get on your knees, or if you want to lean forward, or maybe the more humble thing for you that would feel absolutely embarrassing would be to stand up and put your arms up, right? It's about shaking off that pride, the things that we want to hold on to keep that image, and just say, Jesus, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I'm striving for. It doesn't matter what I'm trying to do in my own power. I want to be in your presence. So right now, Jesus, help us to pause. Help us to see you. The God that is the God of the universe, that's calling our name, that sees everything that's happening in the world, but is close enough to each of us to say, I want you. I want to spend time with you. And so right now, bring to mind the things that we are doing in our own strength, the things that are hard to admit that we need help with. And we just say we're available. What do you want us to see? What do you want us to hear? What do you want us to know? What do you want us to experience? We're here for you, Jesus.